Adam Silver apparently not messing around when it comes to tanking in his association. Max, should Silver have even sent this memo?
Not really, no. And by the way, I got to start by saying this. What he said is true, which is we can't go to the integrity of the competition itself. I would never advocate for players on the court trying to, playing in a way not as well as they can so they lose, or a coach coaching in a way to help his team lose, because that goes to the integrity of that competition on that night. No. Tanking doesn't mean that, really. It doesn't mean you're throwing the game. It means that you're fielding a young roster, that you're not spending money on top players or just players good enough to help you in the short run but not the long run, that you're constructing a roster and trying things that you know will result in a bad record so that you may pick high up in the draft. What Adam Silver is doing here really is no more than a PR move that he feels like obviously he has to do, because it doesn't address the real root of the issue, which is incentives. The lottery system incentivizes teams, if they're not really good, to be really bad. Everyone knows this, and that's what needs to be addressed. This is like, the analogy is like, the NBA is a marketplace. Think of it as a marketplace. And Adam Silver is the government. And businesses, if they're only looking out for their own short-term interest, it could have a detrimental effect on their long-term health, which is why you need government regulation sometimes of marketplaces and businesses, because they're very good at allocating resources in the short run, but over longer horizons, it's good to have a smart person there going, wait a minute, can't you see this is headed for disaster? We need to change this. And that's Adam Silver. But the only way to truly change behavior, it's not by a threatening letter, it's by fixing the incentives. Adam Silver must figure out a way, and it's not easy, there's no easy way to do this, to fix incentives in terms of the lottery and positioning there, so bad teams aren't, or teams that aren't great or in the middle of the pack, aren't incentivized to be all the way bad in order to get all the way good. Right now, that's the system in place, and no number of letters from Adam Silver or PR campaign can change that. Only the fixing of the incentives can change it.
Did Silver make the right decision to send this? He absolutely did. Even though it's much ado about nothing, because he's basically imploring them, don't be stupid by being obvious when you're trying to tank a season. That's basically what he's saying. Don't make it so, don't be Captain Obvious, where you're just showing the world what exactly you're doing, because it compromises our product and thereby our brand. Let me get into a bigger subject and highlight this and just break this down for you a little bit, Max. There was a Board of Governors meeting yesterday in New York City. You got basically about 9 teams that are struggling in the National Basketball Association. In my perfect world, I think that the Memphis Grizzlies should move to Seattle. I think that the Seattle market needs to get a basketball team, to be quite honest with you. I would like to see that happen. I'm wondering about what's going on in Charlotte as well with Michael Jordan in terms of the kind of revenue they're generating and what have you. The All-Star festivities are going to be there next year. Why do I bring stuff like that up? I bring stuff like that up because you're talking about branding, you're talking about the product, you're talking about protecting what you have, because you don't want to lose the consumer. Now, clearly the NBA is flourishing, and we all get that. But these are the kind of things that jeopardize your brand if you allow that level of cockiness to get in the way where you insult the intelligence of the average consumer. You and I in the past have disagreed about the process in Philadelphia. And here's what I want to highlight about that. The Philadelphia 76ers, that level of tanking could not be tolerated. And that's why I don't have a problem with Adam Silver sending this message, because it's consistent with Adam Silver's involvement as it pertains to his concern about such issues. When it came to the city of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers, they were flagrant with what they did. They hired Brett Brown. They gave him virtually nothing to work with. And everybody looks at the end result of the drafting of a Ben Simmons, the drafting of a Joel Embiid, the drafting of a Michael Carter-Williams who wins Rookie of the Year, and then you ship him out of town, etc., etc. Here's what they missed. You were losing so badly. 18-win seasons, 19-win seasons, one season was a 10-win season or what have you. It was so deplorable and so embarrassing that the NBA commissioner had to get involved himself by communicating with the owner of the 76ers, who ultimately brought in Jerry Colangelo, who is an iconic figure in the world of basketball. And obviously they've taken a forward step. But what transpired at that particular moment in time? We had Greg Popovich and Rick Carlisle, the president of the Coaches Association. They were so concerned about Brett Brown. Rick Carlisle came to the defense of Brett Brown, and Greg Popovich literally lamented in front of the cameras the kind of deplorable stuff that Brett Brown had to deal with in terms of being bereft with talent on his roster. To sit up there and try to sell that product to a city spanning years is inexcusable, but more importantly, it lets executives off the hook. The draft is not the only way to build. Stinking up the joint and positioning yourself for draft picks is not the only way. Free agency is a way.
But it's a good way.
Hold on. It's not, but it's not the only way, and that's the point. It's not about it being good or bad. It's that it's not the only way. Even if you draft, you only get a pick or 2 picks.
Okay.
So you still got a roster to fill. So if you're hold on, I'm going to your point. If you're an executive and you have the license to stink, that's a problem.